Des, there's an interesting case you were telling me about of an HMO, or a house that became an HMO on the 1st of October 2018 when the regulations changed, where there was a bit of a problem with the mortgage and contravening the type of mortgage being used. Tell us about that, please.
Oh, very interesting. So, largely detached house in the West Midlands, not far from Birmingham Airport. The landlord had been renting it out for 12 years, and this latest rental was to a company.
Okay, and in all that time it hadn't been an HMO, had it?
No. It had been a simple residential letting, and at this time, earlier in the year, he'd let it out. I think it was the year before, actually. He'd let it out to a company, and the company now had 5 occupants in the property. So, as a result of the change in legislation that came in on the 1st of October, it required to have an HMO licence because the 5 people living in the property for the company were unrelated. So, because there were 5 unrelated people sharing facilities, such as bathrooms and toilets, in what is, I did go and look at this house because it was lovely and it was intriguing, and absolutely fantastic house, and living in quite luxury, and as opposed to what the government says, one of the people living in the house is on a salary of 80 grand a year. So it's not, you can imagine, quite luxurious, this place. So the landlord's been making profits for about 12 years. This is the first time the house has been an HMO. So one of the requirements when you apply for an HMO licence is you need to apply, and when you apply there are certain people you need to let know. One of them is the mortgage company. If you are leasing a property, you need to let the owner know or the freeholder know, etc., etc. So as you can imagine. Now the company, realising this was a situation that the landlord probably didn't want to be in, had offered to pay for the licence and to do any works that were required that the council was imposing that maybe the house didn't have. So upgrade the fire detection system, make it interlinked, make it hardwired, put some fire doors in, put some fireboard under the stairs and on the loft hatch. All the things that most people realise they have to do. So the owner was quite pleased about this. What he wasn't pleased about was the fact that in making the application, he would now have to inform his mortgage company. And he said, please don't apply for a licence then. It would be better you didn't apply for a licence. So on questioning this, the company got a little bit frustrated and contacted Landlord Defence and said, I don't know if you can help us, but this is the situation. We have a property, we have 5 people in the property, our company has rented the property, we have it on a 5-year agreement, and we are now having to apply for a licence because the landlord doesn't want to. So I asked some more questions, and we found out that the owner didn't have a mortgage to rent the property. Not to rent it to anybody. It was an individual personal domestic mortgage with a leading bank, and he didn't have right to let, or consent to let, as it's called, or consent to rent as others call it. So as you can imagine, the moment his mortgage company finds out he's in breach...
And he's been in breach for 12 years, has he, at this point?
12 years.
Whoops.
Yeah. Now, I tell you that now because what I had to do was work with the client, and then I needed to talk to the owner directly. I talked to him. He was adamant that he was not going to do this until we explained to him about the fines, the criminal offence that it is, the fines that are £30,000, how they look at each one of the breaches, and they would hold him ultimately responsible as the owner of the property, not his tenant, even if his tenant was looking to do the licence for him. So, on my advice, he went away, validated what I told him, and the next call that we had was quite a protracted call because he brought his mortgage broker to the call. And I'm talking to the mortgage broker and talking to him and having the mortgage broker explain the situation, we brokered for our client that he would let his mortgage company know. We drafted the letter in the correct format, and working with the mortgage broker was able to give him alternatives, and he knew that his mortgage product was now in this precise instance, was going to require to be changed. We also agreed with our client to assist him in what he needed to do, that they would, on the signing of him receiving a mortgage offer, they would sign a new tenancy agreement to coincide with the licence term, which would make it easier for him to get borrowing because he already had a tenant who was going to finance it, rather than I'm going to get an HMO mortgage and then find tenants.
Mm-hmm.
The company decided, on my advice, that as the landlord or the owner didn't particularly follow the rules, that they would take responsibility for the management of this property and apply for the HMO licence in their name, with him as a vested interest. And that is what's happened. And I must say, the works are being done. The council's been to the house. They really like it. You know a house is good when the council officer, the environmental health officer, says, "Oh, I could live here." So, you know that's good. So, just one of those things. I would say there are thousands of owners of properties today who have let them out for years and years and years, and probably going to get caught out with any selective licensing, additional licensing or mandatory licensing comes in for HMOs. So, client's very happy.
I would think that owner, you actually got him off a big hook there, because at some stage he was going to get found out. And by instructing him through the process to do things properly, you've actually saved him some massive penalties, I suspect.
Well, he's had a lot of profits from this house. He's also told them that he's applying for an HMO licence, and at the same time told them that he intends to surrender. Well, when you've had a mortgage for 12 years, there will be no redemption fees. And of course, they've said, no, you can't do that. And the mortgage broker more or less made the inquiries for him anyway on that day. So he's going to be pleased because he's going to have the right product. He's going to be properly insured. The company is very, very happy because their occupants are in a proper licensed house with all the proper regulations in place and all the works have been done. So everybody's happy, and a problem that started out 12 years ago and he's just been kicking it down the road.
It's been fixed.
It's been fixed, and everybody can go to sleep at night knowing everybody's doing everything properly.
Fantastic, Des. Thank you very much.